So now we are going to move on to day 2. And Josephine, you are going to tell us what are the 6 steps to financial independence. And these steps, I understand, are the same for everybody.
Yes, they are. And it's not grown in stone that it's 6 steps. It can be 6, 7, 8 steps. But I call it, I'm very happy with the 6 steps because it's easy to remember. And it really starts with paying back your credit card bills and your your short-term credits where you pay more than 10% interest. So if you have a current account credit or if you have a consumer credit because you like this television and or you like a kitchen, whatever, and you have a loan, a credit which costs more than 10% interest, this is step number 1. Get rid of it. Get rid of it as quickly as possible. I'm not talking about big loans for real estate or whatever. I'm really talking about these consumer credits and credit card loans or bills. So this is step number 1. And step number 2 is pay your invoices. So always pay your invoices on time. Like if you have a doctor's invoice and it says you have 30 days to pay it, I pay it on day 28 or day 29, so I don't pay it immediately. Because it's always good to be careful with your cash flow. Pay it on time, but don't pay it too early, but definitely don't pay it too late. And try not to accumulate any invoices at home and get letters from your phone company or whatever. And because also it has a very bad impact on your rating, on your credit rating. I know in Germany we have that. In France, you also have that.
It's coming in France. It's
coming in France.
Yeah,
okay, because in Germany we have that already, and so it's coming in France. And it's really like if you don't pay your bills on time and you do it a few times, then you get a bad credit rating, and which can really affect your future financial freedom, and you don't want to have your future financial independence negatively affected. So pay your bills on time. Then number 3 is work on your emergency fund. And this is really important. So this is step number 3 of reaching financial independence. You need an emergency fund. And for me, the emergency fund is as much money as I need in 1 year. So everybody, and it's also different and individual, because for some people, I know some people who need 10,000 euros a year because they live a very nomad and very low budget life. They don't have children. They fly to.
So they will say, sorry, but they will say if there's an emergency, I can always go couch surfing. And I'm in a country like France where the healthcare is for free. And so I would only need to pay a few bills and to buy my food, and that would be it. So 10,000 euro for 1 year would be okay.
Sorry, Emily, I didn't understand your question. I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying it totally depends on the environment that you are in. So if you are in a country such as France, for instance, where you have a public welfare state and the health expenses are covered, probably, and you have no children, as you said, your emergency fund could be of 10,000 euro for a year, because you can always go couch surfing, staying with some friends, with your parents, with God knows who, and you would only have to pay for your food. So maybe it would be even less than 10,000. But if you live in a country like the US, where you have to, to pay for your healthcare and you have children and you have to pay for the education, obviously, for 1 year of emergency fund, you would need much more money. So
absolutely,
every individual to determine how much, and maybe it's 1 year, maybe it's 6 months.
It's up to you. Like most advisors say 6 months to 1 year. But I agree with you, Emily. It really depends on the country, because I can imagine when you live in Dubai, for example, or in the US, you really need much more. And then 6 months might be okay, because also, like if you live in countries where you have a very high expenses, you also have, not always, but you tend to have more flexibility to get a new job. It's much easier to like the job market in the US is much more flexible than in France, but you also have less security net. So So 6 months might be enough. It really, you have to look at your individual situation and your spending. Yeah. Also, I think important to say here, because if you are an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur. If you are an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter which country you live, you definitely need more emergency fund than if you are working as a fonctionnaire at the whatever.
Yeah.
Police.
Okay, so step 4, what would be the step 4?
So this is emergency fund, step 3, step 4, and this is really like, I think the first part of really having financial freedom is like you are in the financial freedom zone, and it means you have no money problems and you don't have to worry about money. You are not rich, and you cannot go to to the Maldives every year. It's not about that, but you can live your life. You have your emergency fund, you can pay your bills, and you have no serious money worries. This is number 4. Number 5, here you start, is like the second level of financial independence. You really start to invest and save. You invest and you save, and there we have another chapter in the upcoming days, because I have some tips for you where you can invest your money, and you should do it as early as possible, because this is like a very interesting effect. It's called compound interest, and the compound interest effect most people don't understand.
Yeah, and I suggest, and sorry to interrupt, I suggest we don't go there yet.
We don't go there yet, but basically it means the earlier and the younger you are, the better it is. But it doesn't mean that it's not good to start now. It doesn't matter how old you are, you can always start. Huh? I'm just saying it's better to start young. Yeah, and then number 5. Reaching level number 5 of financial independence means being able to retire relaxed. It doesn't matter how old you are, if you are 60 or 70, because this is also dependent on your individual priority. You know, some people like to work. I'm talking to many people, and they really they enjoy their work, and they say, I never want to retire. I love my job, so I want to do it as long as possible. And others really don't like their job, and they would like to retire when they are 45 or 50. So reaching level number 5 means you are able to retire at the age that you prefer, and you preferably you prefer. And finally, reaching level number 6 is really like having true financial freedom, and being able to do whatever you want. And yeah, this is number 6.
Okay, so we cannot see it right now because we are not sharing the screens. I mean, it's a recording of a Zoom call, obviously, but all the documents, the support documents, as always, are in the workbook. And what we do not see right now is actually these 6 steps of financial freedom. It looks like a pyramid. So there is a base, which is paying off your debt, and then paying off paying your bills and being able to cover your expenses. And then you move on to having your emergency fund, and then you move up the steps. So because yesterday we told everybody that their homework was to start looking at their expenses and tracking their expenses, we are going to use this information in today's class, because if you want to be strategic, your homework for today is actually to know if you do have some debt on short term, as Josefine said, which is higher than 10% interest, like on consumption credit, then the first thing is you have to know how much this money represents. And the second thing, Josefine, for today, the most important task is to define how much your basic expenses are, because when you said you have to pay your bills, a lot of people, they don't know on if you put them in on a yearly level, how much paying their bills for their essential needs, like having a roof over your head, paying for the food, paying for the healthcare, paying for the kids' school, how much money exactly does this represent? And we are not talking about, luxury expenses or going on holiday there, right? We are talking about the basic needs. Yes? So the job for today is figuring out, if you have loans, how much money does it represent? We're talking about, again, short-term loans on a more than 10% interest. Second, looking into your expenses and defining how much money you need on a yearly basis to cover your expenses. And third, if you had to have a life accident and you need to cover 1 year of expenses and an emergency fund, how much money would you need to have in this emergency fund? Because this is very personal. We could go very low cost and we could go very high cost. So you have to have this amount in mind. Is that all on the side of the pyramid of the 6 steps of the financial independence that they need to do for today, Josephine?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then you have to, I want you to tell us a little bit more in your method about the choices you make and how, I found it very interesting, how you decide, sorry, what are your priorities and what is important for you and what is not important?
So this is, coming back to yesterday when we talked about the budgeting. When you have done your budgeting and you looked at it for 1 month, then I think you should, and even before, you can think about your priorities, what really matters to you and where you want to spend your money. And for me, I just want to share my personal, I call it high and low cash burn rate, like a startup that burns a lot of cash. I like the expression because I'm an entrepreneur. So where do I spend a lot of money? My high cash burn rate is really myself, like my health, my fitness, like everything that is good for me, my mental health, my physical health, and also food. I spend a lot of money. I don't spend money for restaurants. Yeah, if I do, I really enjoy, and it's a very special moment. But I spend more money than the average person on healthy and food that helps me to stay fit. And also I do spend more money than the average person on moments that are very enjoyable. Like, for example, sometimes I do go to a nice hotel. I really enjoy going to a nice place. It doesn't have to be, 2 weeks in a 5-star hotel, but it's like small luxury moments. I really enjoy these small luxury moments. And I also spend money on traveling, because for me it's really my passion, and this is how Emily and me got to know each other better, because one of my best travels was my trip to India with Emily more than 10 years ago. It was great. And then I spent quite a bit of money for gadgets, like I have too many. I have whatever, like
okay, like tech iPad or thing like that.
Exactly. I have everything other people think it's totally unnecessary and you really don't need. Like my husband, for example, he thinks I'm out of my mind that I spend so much money on whatever, like the news.
So going back to the FIRE method, so on the opposite side, what are the things that now we
exactly. So I'm very, very, like, I spend very little money on clothes.
Okay, yes. But this has changed, right? Because it has been a strategic move that you made.
Yes.
When you consciously said, what are the things I want to spend money on and what are the things I do not want to spend money on? And you started saying, I am not going to spend money on clothes, for instance.
It's like, I love fashion. I do, but I made the conscious decision not to focus my priorities on fashion. I think it's more important to have a healthy and figure and a good body. Like, to look okay. It's much more important than to have the most expensive clothes. Yeah, it's not my priority number one. And then also I spend very little for my kids. I really do. I spend very little for toys and for books. I really do go. I go to the public library, and I I like it. It's fun because you always have. I have fresh new books every other week. My children love it, and also for toys, I don't spend a lot of money for toys because they don't appreciate. They play with things, and then after one day it gets boring. So I buy it, or I get it from friends. I buy it used. So there's a lot of saving priority, and which doesn't really affect your quality of life. And the same goes for me for furniture. Also, I don't spend money on furniture, but this is also it's a temporary lifestyle decision. This might change later in my life because now I have 3 kids at home, and they Emily knows they paint their name everywhere if I'm not watching carefully enough. So I really don't want to spend too much money on furniture at this point in my life. And also I'm very careful with eating out and having dinners outside. I really, when I enjoy having dinners at my place. Yeah. I do sometimes, but it's like very special moments. Normally, I cut costs on eating out.
Restaurants, Josefine, I feel is really a trap because
it is.
You don't realize, and particularly when you go out with friends and you are on a budget for certain things. I mean, all of us, we are on a budget for certain things, but you go in a restaurant, and I mean, particularly here in Paris, it happened to me that I was going out with friends, and because everybody's drinking so much wine. And I mean, and I like have a glass or whatever, or they go through a 3-course meal or whatever. At the end of the evening, you get this bill of 90 euro, and you're just like, what? And you know, you feel like it was not your choice. Basically, I don't mind once in a year going to a Michelin star restaurant, but when I don't like to have the money forced out on something that I did not decide. So I perfectly understand where you are going. So the task, I think,
no, it's also, I mean, just to go back to the restaurants, I sometimes really enjoy spending, like we enjoy spending time with friends out. But what I realized when I started to budget and to write down my costs, I realized that this is like, it was really, for me, it was a lot of money that just went out to dinners and restaurants because I was like,
now you home cook. So just
mindful enough with my spending.
Okay, so just to wrap it up, because I think it's been quite a long session. So the first task is to go back to the pyramid of the 6 steps to financial freedom and to put figures in front of each step of the pyramid, and most importantly, the base of the pyramid. And then the second step is to decide, each person has to decide on what are their priorities, what are their high cash burn expenses categories, and what are their low cash burn categories. Yes, am I right for the task for today? Okay, so Josefine, thank you very much. And so tomorrow I'm just checking my notes. Oh yes, we are going to discuss about savings and the strategies for savings. But so for today, just go back to your workbooks and check out all the tools that and the exercise, the recap for the exercise, and it should not take more than 10-15 minutes if you've done your budget exercise for yesterday. And we will see you tomorrow. Thank you very much. Enjoy, have fun, and goodbye.